Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Edens and I'm so happy you've chosen to join me today to work on your wealth mindset and your finance skills and unlock your inner millionaire. We're talking today about, for 2024, about ways that you can build wealth. So let's just jump right into part one of some ideas and some strategies I have for you about how you can build your wealth in the new year. So number one is to build your understanding of the economic machine. So this is talking about market behavior with the stock market, housing market, things like that. We're looking at geopolitical events and how they play into how that affects the markets. We're looking at like a whole host of different things. And so it's a really good idea to start getting a broad picture of how all of this works. And so you can start following the financial news, and that will help you just be able to have a good understanding of all the different factors that go in to what makes the economy tick and what contributes to upturns and downturns in the economy and so forth. It's a really fascinating study to learn more about economics, and specifically what we're talking about is macroeconomics, so like the big picture when it comes to economics and how it all plays out. The last time you thought about economics might have been back in high school or college, but it's much more interesting when you're studying it in terms of then making good financial decisions for yourself based on everything that's going on. Number two is to start diversifying both your portfolio and your income streams right now. So going into 2024, we're looking at potentially experiencing a downturn here in the next 12 to 18 months. I'll link to my recession series that you can watch with my thoughts on kind of both why I think that's coming up on our radar here in the next 12 to 18 months and how you can prepare for it. But it's really good to, if you're an investor, to have a chat with your investment advisor and talk about kind of what their recommendations are for how you can diversify your portfolio, and then also for your income streams, because we saw during 2020 how important it is to not just have one income stream for your entire household. And if you're one person in the household that's earning money gets laid off or furloughed or just temporarily can't work because of all the shutdowns that we saw during the pandemic, that all of a sudden it's a huge problem for yourself and your family. So you want to make sure that you have multiple taps, if you want to think about it, that are pouring into your money bucket, so that you've got not just like the one shut off and all of a sudden there's no more money coming in. So I have a couple of videos on how to build multiple income streams for yourself and for your family, but it's always a great way to be resilient to start thinking that through. Number three is to think through your current risk management strategy and tweak it if necessary. I sound like an insurance agent, and it's because I used to be an insurance agent, but it is really, really good to think through kind of how exposed you are to various risks. So really have a think about what industry you're working in right now and how prone that industry is to layoffs. Let's be honest, if there's a downtick, is it a pretty recession-proof industry, or is it one that as soon as the economy starts to have like little rumbles of trouble, then the companies just start cutting jobs? So that's a good thing to think about, not necessarily to completely shift industries or anything, but to, like I said, to start building in other income streams in other industries or something related, or a side gig where you're working for yourself and making money and you're not going to lay yourself off, obviously. Selling something on Etsy or creating a product or service that you can sell, doing freelance work, all of this. But just being able to kind of really assess kind of how much your job is subject to economic downturns. Also take that same strategy with your investments and look at that as well. Make sure that you've got kind of a risk management strategy there that you've talked through with your investment advisor that you're happy with given kind of the current climate. And not necessarily having like, I don't want you to have a catastrophic mindset or anything, but just have a plan in place for how would you pay the bills if you got laid off. Like, are you building an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of living expenses, and that's how you're planning to do it? Have you explored state unemployment benefits and you're planning to perhaps file for state unemployment benefits, but just have a plan in place. And that's going to help you be a lot more resilient in the coming year, and then also protect your wealth as well, so that you don't get in a situation where you weren't prepared for a certain thing and then it ate up all your savings and you didn't have anything behind that, and maybe the money's not coming in for your household, and it can just start to, snowball then. So just really thinking through various situations and kind of coming up with how you would cope with those individually as a family, and having a plan in place for those. Number 4 is to really start identifying your principles or core values that guide your behavior and decisions. So that's a really good thing as you're building wealth, to be really knowing, like, what is your why? And I have a whole video on this that I'll link to in the description below. And I also have a principle download that has some core values to get you started and some ideas and inspiration. And so if you go to my website at saraedens.com/values, you can download that, print it out. There's some space to journal on the back page, and put your thoughts in there. But that's a really good thing going into the new year as well, is to really kind of come up with like your why for the year, of why you're doing what you're doing, like why you're building wealth, who you're building wealth for. Is it for your future self? Is it for your kids? Is it for your grandchildren? Whatever the case may be. But that's a really good thing, is to really just think through your why, think through the values that are kind of fueling your life and fueling your decision-making processes. So check out my handout on that and my download on that as well. And then number 5 is to dedicate consistent times to leveling up your financial skills. So building wealth typically doesn't happen overnight. I say typically because sometimes people will either inherit a lot of wealth, which isn't that common, or they will win the lottery, which again is not that common. And I don't recommend trying to build wealth by playing the lottery. That is like a terrible way to build wealth, because it so rarely happens that anybody actually like wins the lottery. It's like being struck by lightning. It's about that common. And so I really recommend the strategy of building wealth gradually over the course of your life, and really making that investment in your financial skills, and in both the wealth mindset skills that we talk about so much on my channel. I've got a video that I will link to in the description all about how you can improve your wealth mindset if that's an area of struggle for you, and even what that is, and how you can have some practical tips to implement that in your life. And then my playlists here on YouTube are full of video after video after video of practical tips for building your financial skills, whether that's saving, investing, budgeting, and so forth. Lots and lots of resources for you there. And with investing specifically, it's not something I advise about my channel, but there are a ton of great YouTubers out there who talk specifically about investments, and they are investment advisors. So definitely check their work out as well. I'll link in the description to a couple of my favorites who I follow and get a lot of inspiration from as I have learned how to invest myself. So that's my 5 tips to get you started on building wealth for 2024, and to really just move your finances in a positive direction this year and get you off to a strong start. And stay tuned for part 2, and I will see you again soon.